Hey guys, thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Today's gonna be a little different than usual. We have no scripted historical presentation, but rather an off-the-cuff rendition of one of my favorite old school YouTube gun tube content types, which is a top 5 guns video. And today we're doing the 5 firearms I would keep if I could only have 5. And before I start, I wanna give a big caveat here. Today we're talking totally practical purposes. I talked about this a little bit in my Is the SKS Obsolete video. Right now I'm turning off the collector part of my brain, that 90% of my relationship with firearms that is symbolic, that is cultural, that is historical, that is intellectual. We're taking all of that, we're putting that to the side, and today we're looking at them as tools, we're looking at them as implements, and from that perspective, I'm gonna tell you which 5 I would keep if I could only keep 5. So number 5 on the list is going to be my least favorite of the 5. Not to say I don't like this particular firearm, but I honestly like the other 4 a lot more. That said, again, this isn't a video about what I like. This is a video about what I would keep due to practical purposes. So number 5 on that list has to be the Ruger LCP Max. I'll probably run some B-roll and pictures and stuff because I bet you can't see me super well. But the LCP Max is going to be a 10+1 380 pocket pistol. It is extremely small, it is extremely light, and that is the reason why it's gonna be on my top 5 list. This is gonna be, as far as I'm concerned, the far end of concealability, and concealable firearms are super practical. This is the smallest, most capable firearm that I would be okay with carrying. CCW is a big part of having a firearm, and for that reason, this has gotta be on my top 5. It's not the most pleasant gun to shoot. I'm not particularly good with it, but I can carry it places that I can't carry anything else. And I feel very confident inside of 20 yards that I can put 10 or 11 rounds right where they need to be pretty darn quickly. Sometimes the best gun in the world is just the one that you happen to have on you. And this is a gun I can have on me almost all the time. And for that reason, it's number 5 on my list. I should mention that I'm carrying this thing around in a Vetter pocket locket holster, which I really do like. So number 5 was the most concealable handgun that I personally feel comfortable carrying. And number 4 is going to be something with a little bit less compromise, more like a true EDC. And that is indeed going to be my EDC, the Glock 48. It's a really simple gun, haven't done much to it. All I did is put some Ameriglow Spartans on here and some hockey tape. Use the old school. If you ever played hockey, exact same technique here. Gives great texture and doesn't rub on the skin or mess up your shirt the way some grip tapes do. Other than that, this is a stock Glock 48. Use the original Glock mags. This is 10+1. Got some Hornady Critical Duty 9mm in here. It's a great round, and I'm a huge fan of the Glock 48. I think it is the ultimate mid-size carry gun. A wise man once said that every handgun should be a Glock, and every Glock should be a Glock 19. Now, if you're to take that statement literally, it's a pretty dumb thing to say, but in terms of conceptually, it's pretty brilliant, which is that there's something really magical about that hybrid gun, which is big enough to shoot like a full-size gun, but small enough to conceal. And for me, that's the Glock 48. It shoots like a full-size gun. I get great purchase on it. I can make 50 to 100 yard shots pretty easily with this. And that's something that I absolutely can't do with the LCP Max. I am aware that I have a little less capacity, but when this comes up, I don't feel compromised. I feel like I have a full-size handgun in my hand and I'm ready to go. And despite that, it conceals pretty darn comfortably, not as good as the LCP Max, but very comfortably compared to something bigger. And that's why the Glock 48 is number 4 on my list. Forgot to mention I am carrying this around in a Galco King Tuck Light. Not a bad holster, not my favorite, but it gets the job done. So number 5 and number 4 were CCW pistols, but there are situations in which concealability just isn't on the agenda. And for circumstances like that, I turn to the Glock 17. Glock 17 is a pistol I have a long relationship with. I've carried Glock 17 professionally. I've carried Glock 22 professionally, which is obviously the same frame. So this guy's got a couple things going on. First of all, it's got the Streamlight TLR VIS-2. This is a white light, adjustable to infrared flood with infrared aiming laser. Additionally, it's got the Brownells slide. The reason I put a Brownell slide on there is just to get this RMR capable. In terms of optics, I have the HoloSun HS507C X2 with the ACSS Vulcan reticle on here. I love this optic. It performs super well under night vision. and this is a fully night vision optimized pistol. We got the suppressor height irons with no tritium, so they don't mess with my night vision sight picture. We got a little bit of bicycle tubing on the grip here that increases purchase. Other than that, it's stock Gen 4 Glock 17. This is the no compromise handgun for me. I love the G48. The G48 shoots like a full-size handgun, but this is a full-size handgun and it shoots like it as well. It's kind of a large profile with all the enablers, but that really pays dividends in low light and no light conditions. This is great on the square range on a sunny day. This is great inside the house in the dark with no night vision. This is great in the woods with night vision on. This really covers all the bases of lighting. And obviously it's relatively large for a handgun, but in terms of being a capable 24-hour weapon system, it's extremely compact. With the right ammunition, it's pretty darn effective. And that's why this is number 3 on my list. And finally, this pistol does roll around in a Safariland level 3 holster. This is a 6360 holster that I really like and I have experience with both in the private world and in the military. So moving on to number 2 now. This is one I'm super proud and super excited to show you. Probably some people are gonna hate it and make fun of me. I'm okay with that, I like it. This is gonna be my highly customized night vision compatible Ruger 10/22. So oftentimes on lists like this, you'll see people mention 22 long rifles. In terms of SHTF, in terms of if I could only have 5 rifles, there's a lot of merits to the 22 long rifle. I won't go through all of those in this video. I will have a dedicated video on this at some point. But long story short, that has always been a perspective which I have found quite compelling. It makes a lot of sense to me that if I could only have 5 rifles, one of them would be chambered in the lightest weight, cheapest, and easiest to acquire ammunition on the planet, which is 22 long rifle. What doesn't make sense to me is that I should go with a wood-stocked, iron-sighted, basic 10/22. Why would I not want to put that cartridge in the most capable weapon system that I could devise? And that was the inspiration behind this. So we'll try to go through it pretty quickly. I did go with an original 10/22. Obviously a lot's been changed, but this is a core 10/22 action at the heart of this. The reason I did that is because I wanted to be able to exploit the legendary reliability of Ruger BX magazines. I use BX 15s. Obviously the BX 1s are great too. I'm not a big fan of BX 25s, but if they work well for you, more power to you. Other than that, this started its life as a Ruger 10/22 Target Light. The reason I went with Target Light is because it's got allegedly an accurate enough barrel, but it's got a light barrel. And the other thing I liked about that is it has the BX trigger system in here. So it's got a great trigger. I put that all in a Midwest Industries chassis. On top of that chassis, I have the Hera Arms folding buffer tube adapter. This has a Magpul SL-K stock on there. I like that a lot. Moving forward, we've got a comfortably elevated EOTech. I believe this is the 558 model. This is the one that runs off AA batteries and has dedicated night vision modes. Again, this gun is optimized for use under night vision, and the EOTech is the king under nods. I went with the AA model because, again, if I could only have 1 rifle for the rest of my life, I prefer to go off AAs. I do have solar chargers for my CR123s, but ultimately AAs are the best long-term solution. Underneath that EOTech, I do have MBUS 3s as a backup sighting system. Not a lot to say about them. They're new. I don't really have a ton of time on them, but I'm more or less happy so far. Moving forward, we got the BCM vertical foregrip. We got the Inforce WML Gen 2 white light and IR illuminator. I run that directly off the button. That's at 45 to the left and at 45 to the right. I have a HoloSun LS221G, so that's IR laser aiming as well as Viz laser for zeroing purposes. And I run that off a tape switch right on the 12 o'clock so that I can easily control both enablers ergonomically with my left thumb. Very last thing, I got the Magpul MS4 sling on here, 2-point to 1-point, and that's a great way to round out this particular build. I call this my little monster. Obviously it's a 22, but this thing absolutely rips. It puts rounds downrange fast. With suppressed subsonics, I can have 3 rounds in the air going to a 100-yard target, and all 3 of those rounds are gonna be in the air before the first round hits. It is super cool. Still waiting on my Form 4 for a can for this guy. My plan with this ultimately is to use it, like in my head, I think of it as like a Boy Scouts 300 blackout, where I can go just by a switch of a magazine. I can go from supersonic, 40 grain, something like Velocitors or Dila Interceptors, to switch right over to something subsonic, some 40 grain or 45 grain, right around 1,000 feet per second. And with a can on here, it is totally silent. So the ability to switch between something with a little bit more zip to something which makes absolutely no signature, and I can run under nods at night, is a pretty capable weapon system, even if it's just a 22. So this is the battle belt I run with this particular weapon system. I'll show you real quick because I'm kind of proud of it. I made this up. We got the real small Maxpedition here. This is perfectly sized for my little BX-15s. And it folds up, gets out of the way very nicely. Over here, I've got the USGI ACU flashbang pouches. Super cheap, and they hold BX-15s great. Got these nice little clips here. And then one BX-15 fits just in there. And the other thing I have going on here is I have sewn, you can see these black, this is the loop portion of some hook and loop that I've sewn on here. And the reason I have that is so that I can feel at night when I am retrieving subsonic mags. So in here you can see we're loaded up with subsonic. So that's just a way to keep this rig as usable under no light conditions as possible. All right, guys, and here we are finally at number 1. Drum roll, please. I know some of you are about to be really excited and some of you are about to be super disappointed in me. But my number 1 choice, if I could only have 5 firearms, is going to be the Arsenal SAM-7 SF. So the reason I have the SAM-7 SF is, well, there's a couple reasons. One of which, I love the folding stock there. Super compact, super portable, but not compromised when that stock comes out. This is a tough as nails fighting rifle. So why did I go with an AK over an AR? A lot of you guys know I'm a big fan of the AR. If I could only have one rifle in a fight, for example, like if I'm in a fight right now and I can pick any weapon to be in my hands, I want it to be a Block 1 M4A1. But that's not what this video is about. This is for the rest of my life and long-term maintenance. It's really hard to compete with the AK, particularly a milled AK like this Bulgarian SAM-7 SF. This reduces a couple of failure points which are present on the M4. When you got a team of armors behind you, those failure points are not an issue. But when you're just a dude like me out in the woods, those can potentially be an issue. Those failure points I'm talking about are gas rings, the gas tube. Obviously the buffer tube is a critical part. If you take a round through your buffer tube or it gets run over, your weapon goes down hard. If your pistol grip gets sheared off on an AR, your weapon goes down hard. With an AK, those are not issues. There's very few things which are going to stop this from running. I mean, basically the same things will stop anything from running, which is going to be dirt and debris ingressing into the weapon. But the great thing there is really all you got to do is get a hose, rinse this thing out, and it'll be back in business before you know it. Another huge advantage with the AK is going to be the AK magazines. These are some of the most tried and true and durable long-term magazines on the planet. AR magazines are great. I certainly have AR magazines that have been kicking for decades, but a lot of AR mags don't last decades. A lot of AK mags do last decades. So that's one of the reasons why I got the AK. In terms of accessories going on here, I do have the Aimpoint Comp M4S riding on a Midwest Industries mount. I think the Comp M4S is the perfect complement to a milled AK because it is a red dot as durable or close to as durable as the weapon it's riding on. Another Magpul 2-point to 1-point sling. This is an MS3. Those little clips, I forget what Magpul's cute little name for those clips is, but they work great on the AK attachment points. Other than that, the only things I've really changed up here is going to be the hand guards. I forget which company makes these hand guards. These are branded by Kyber Customs. Kyber Customs did not make these. The company that did make them is escaping me right now, but they make great products. Unfortunately, they don't make great products for milled AKs. I had to do a ton of hand fitting to get this to fit, but I did get it to fit, and it is absolutely great now. A little cheese grater on top for aesthetic excellence, and a little piece of pick rail here if I want to go white light, or if I want to go lamb, those can go right here. The factory 74 muzzle brake is phenomenal. I'll really quickly say, if this was a 74, I would like it more, which is to say, if this was in 5.45, I personally would like it more. I do think 5.45 is a better round than 7.62 39, but I got a lot of 7.62 39, and 7.62 39 is still a great round. Just a little inefficient, a little bit heavy, but it does have its advantages too, especially when we start talking about barrier penetration. Other things I love about the SAM 7 SF is going to be the thumb control on the safety. That's a great modern ergonomic feature that helps it compete with a lot of M4s. At the end of the day, not super fancy, but this is a fighting rifle that you can trust your life to. And if I can only have one for the rest of my life, it's really hard to make an argument against having one this robust and this trustworthy. In terms of enablers, again, AK, keeping it nice and simple. Nothing wrong with the old Chi-Com standard. The 3-panel bandolier, 3-panel chest rig, hard to go wrong. All right, as you can see, guys, the sun is going down, and you probably can't see, but my fingers are absolutely freezing right now. I'm looking forward to getting a fire going and getting ready to enjoy my evening. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope this was interesting to you, whether you agree with my choices or not. At the end of the day, they're my choices. The point of this video isn't to tell you what you should do, but entertain you with what I would do and what I do. So, all right, I'm stuttering at this point. Thanks again for watching. If you like this kind of stuff, like, subscribe. It really helps me out, blah, blah, blah. I really hope you have a great rest of your day.